Yep, the back of the second page, number 11. All right. So for these, remember Friday, all you were doing was adding or subtracting, just marking out. If you had to subtract, you were changing the signs on the bottom one. So what happens is now nothing looks the same. So what we're going to do just to keep it consistent, there's a different way to do it, but we're going to talk about this way just to keep it consistent. Nothing is the same, so I can't cancel it out. So I'm going to put parentheses around them. And then I'm going to switch the first and the second numbers. So -2 and 4, just like this. And again, those came from the first numbers. I'm going to distribute that in and make two new equations. Okay. So here's my two new equations. -2 times 4x is -8x. -2 times 18 is -36y. And 2 times 4 is -8. That's a 3. Do the same thing on the next one. So we're going to distribute. If you look, we get the same number in front, and that should always happen. It should always happen. 4 times -9 is -36y, and 4 times 3 is 12. And again, you can use your calculators if you need to on those. Okay. Now remember from last week, if they were the same, we change the sign. Again, that will always happen. So your first two numbers will always look exactly the same, and then we'll have to change the signs. So remember, if they cancel out, they cancel to 0. So this is one of those weird ones. And then on the other side, -12 and -8 added together is -20. If we get something like this, remember it's false. So this one is no solution. I hate we started with this one, but you already know how to do that. Okay. So following through again on number 12, nothing looks the same. Remember, there's always a 1 with this x. We're going to switch it. So -6 is going to go on the top, and -1 is going to go on the bottom. We're going to make brand new equations by distributing. -6 times -x, negative times a negative makes a positive. 6 times x is 6x. -6 times 10 is -60, and it has a y. And again, if you're not sure what the numbers are, use your calculator. -6 times 21 is -126. Do the same thing on the bottom. Distribute your -1. -1 times -6 is a positive 6x. They should look the same or you're doing it wrong. -1 times -y, negative times a negative makes a positive, and you can keep it as 1y if you want, or just y. And then -1 times 4 is -4. Again, your first numbers should always look exactly the same, so you have to get them to cancel out. So change. Now it's just like last week. Your 6's are going to cancel out. -60 plus -1 is -61y. -126 plus 4, if you need to use your calculator, is -122. And then finish by dividing. Again, just like last week. Divide by -61. And I get y equals 2. Remember that you're not finished. You have to go back, pick one of the equations, and find out what your x is. It doesn't matter which equation you pick. The bottom one has smaller numbers to me, so I would pick the bottom one. You can pick the top, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to rewrite 6x minus y equals 4. This says y is 2, so this needs to go in for y. Okay, make sure you put it in for the correct variable. So negative 6x minus y was 2 equals 4. And then solve that equation. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. 4 plus 2 is 6. So I get negative 6x equals 6. And then divide by negative 6. And I get x equals negative 1. Remember, it's an xy coordinate, negative 1, 2. So again, the only new thing that we're doing today is the very beginning multiplication. That's it. Okay, so that's the only new thing. Everything else is exactly what we've been doing this entire time. All right, look at number 13. Try to keep these up there so you guys can see them. You're going to switch the front two numbers, so negative 12 on the top, negative 6 on the bottom. And you're going to distribute them in. Again, if you need your calculator, negative 12 times negative 6 is positive 72x. Use that calculator if you need it. Negative 12 times y is a negative 12y. And then negative 12 times 6, again, is negative 72. Use the calculator. Don't forget your letters. Same thing on the next one. Remember that front number should look exactly the same. Negative times a negative makes a positive 72x. Negative 6 times positive 4 is negative 24, and there was a y. And negative 6 times 12 is negative 72. Again, they look exactly the same. We need to get them to cancel out. So change, change, change. And your front numbers will cancel out. It will always be that way when you have to multiply. Put it in your calculator, negative 12 plus 24, or 24 minus 12 is 12y. Your 72s cancel out, so we put a 0 down here. This is not no solution because you have a y left, okay? We need to finish it out by dividing by 12. And we get y equals 0. The only time you'll get a no solution is if the letters all cancel out. So not because you get a 0, but because the letters cancel out. Pick the easy equation. The top one looks a little bit easier than the bottom one because it just has a single y. We did y equals 0, so the 0 is going in for the y. So we get negative 6x plus 0 equals 6. The 0 doesn't matter, so we just have negative 6x equals 6. Finish it out, divide by negative 6. And we get x equals negative 1. X, y coordinate is your answer. Right. I'm going to do the next one with you, and then on 15, I'm going to start asking questions, okay? First step, switch your front numbers. The top is going to get negative 12. The bottom is going to get negative 4. We're going to distribute. Negative times a negative makes a positive. 12 times 4 is 48, and there's an x. Negative times a positive makes a negative. 12 times 3 is 36, and there's a y. And then when you get into big numbers that you don't know, we're doing negative 12 times 29, which is negative 348. Same thing on the bottom. We're going to distribute. Negative 4 times negative 12, a negative times a negative makes a positive. 4 times 12 is 48, and there's an x. If they look exactly alike, you know you're doing it right. Negative 4 times negative 5 is a positive 20, and then there's a y with that. And negative 4 times negative 11, negative times a negative makes a positive. 4 times 11 is 44. So again, we know we did it right because they're the same, but we need them to cancel out. So we're going to change, 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 and then add them up. So our x's are going to cancel out. We get negative 36 plus negative 20. Read it. Negative 36 plus negative 20 gives us negative 56y. Negative 348 plus negative 44 gives us negative 392. You do, but you don't. Which one are you talking about? Mhm. Plus negative 20y. So there's two negatives. That's all. That's why I was asking. You've been doing fine, doing it in the work. So I knew something had to be weird. Then we're going to divide by negative 56. And we get y equals a positive 7. Pick the easiest equation. Both of these are kind of big. It doesn't matter. I'll take the top one. Those numbers look just a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to put this 7 in for the y. So we get negative 4x plus 3 times 7 equals 29. Clean it up. Negative 4x, 3 times 7 is 21 equals 29. We're going to subtract our 21, and we get negative 4x equals 8. Divide by negative 4, and x equals negative 2. Remember, you have an xy coordinate, so negative 2, 7 is your answer. Okay. Everybody good? All right, so I ask you questions, just answer. The more you don't take this wrong. I'm not trying to rush you, but the faster you answer, the quicker you can get to your homework and have homework time, okay? And we're not going to do all 6 of these, maybe 3 or 4. They're all exactly the same, okay? The way that you do them. So 15, what's the first thing that I need to do? With the parentheses and switch. Okay. All right. Hang on just a minute. We're going to distribute that 10. Just try to give people time to write it down. 10 times negative 5 is negative 50x. 10 times 3y is 30y. And 10 times negative 18 is negative 180. Distribute the bottom as well. You should get the same number. Negative 5 times 10 is negative 50x. Negative 5 times negative 12, positive 60. And then 5 times 18, and if you guys don't know that, is 90. Negative times a negative makes a positive. And use that calculator. Don't feel bad about using it. What do I do now that I got them the same? How do I flip them? What you mean? Yep. Change the sign of the bottom. And the first numbers will cancel out. Again, if you have to use your calculator, use it. 30 plus negative 60 is negative 30y. Same thing, negative 180 plus negative 90 is negative 270. Divide by negative 30. And you get positive 9. Pick either equation, it doesn't matter. The top one looks like it has smaller numbers, so I'm going to choose it. Negative 5x plus 3y equals negative 18. And we're plugging in for y. This one is exactly like the other one. Instead of y, we're going to have 9. And this is the equation we're trying to solve. Clean it up. Multiply your 3 times 9. 3 times 9 is 27. We're going to move that 27 to get it away from our x. So we get negative 5x equals negative 45. Divide by negative 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. So our xy coordinate is 9, 9. We're going to skip down to number 18. Number 18. I like this one because it has a little bit smaller numbers. Switch your front two. Switch your front two. Distribute. Negative 6 times 5 is negative 30x. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18y. And negative 6 times negative 30 is 180. Again, if you need your calculator for that, please do that. On the bottom, 5 times negative 6 is negative 30x. 5 times 2 is 10y. And 5 times negative 20 is negative 100. Because they're both negative, you can't get them to cancel out. You can switch the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter. I just always keep it consistent with the bottom. So I always change the bottom so that these two are opposite signs and mark out. That's the only reason you do it. Add them up. Negative 18 plus negative 10 is negative 28y. And then 180 plus 100 is 280. We divide by negative 28. And we get y equals negative 10. Doesn't matter which equation you pick. The top one has less negatives, so that's the one I'm going to pick. 5x plus 3y equals negative 30. That y is going to be negative 10. So we're going to replace y with negative 10. You're going to use this equation, 5x plus 3y equals negative 30.
Oh, no, but when you have to start on times 3.
When you put in your negative 10, 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. You can do plus negative or you can do minus 30. Equals negative 30. We're going to add 30 to the other side. And remember that when it cancels out, it gives you 0. So don't freak out when you get it to cancel out. Keep it going. Divide by 5, and you get x is 0. So your final answer is 0, negative 10, x, y coordinate. All right, let's do one more, and then I'll give you a lot of time to work. If you have any makeup work to do, you also need to do that as well, okay? Some of y'all do not work when you're at home at all. So you've got to get that done.
I did some of it.
Good. Good.
I did not do some.
Let's do number 19. We're going to switch the negative 4 and the negative 10. 1 is better than none, always. Anything you can get done, get it done. Your grading period ends this week, so if you're failing, you have this week to get it up, and that's it. And then we start over. Distribute. -4 times -10 is a positive 40x. -4 times -25 is a positive 100y. Negative times a negative makes a positive 100. Distribute on the next. Negative times a negative makes a positive 40x. Negative times a negative makes a positive 100y. Negative times a negative makes a positive 100. What happens when I change, change, change?
Everything.
Everything cancels out, which means this side is 0 and this side is 0. Look at it one more time. Is this true or false?
False.
0 doesn't equal 0? It does. So it's true, right? So watch that. So when everything cancels out, it means it's the same exact line. So this means many solutions, infinite solutions, however they write it out. Multiple solutions, everything works, all reals. So no matter what you plug in, it'll work in both equations. So that's why I wanted to get that one out of the way. All right. So number 11, look at the difference. In number 11, these two don't equal. So when they don't equal, it's no solution. When they do equal, it's a bunch of solutions. It's everything you can think of works. Okay. Everything works. So if it's not equal, nothing works. If it is equal, everything works. And then otherwise, it'll give you one single point. Got it? All right. So I'm going to stop sharing, stop recording.